Hey guys, it's Richard. Today I'm going to show you how to install a CB radio on a 2008 Ford F350. And recently I bought a little Wilson antenna, and I'm gonna hook up my 29 LTD Cobra Night Watch radio that I have, and with the Palomar 250 linear amplifier. I'm going to show you how to do that.
Alright, so I chose Little Will, made by Wilson. I highly recommend this type of antenna, this brand. It's by experience, it's probably the best antenna I've ever used. I've never had any problems. It's very durable. It's very affordable. As a matter of fact, I picked this one up at a local CB shop for about $40. In the past, I've also used Wilson 1000s. They're a lot longer. Roughly 5.5 feet, but the longer antennas generally do transmit further distances. They're more efficient. However, reception wise, there's not much of a difference at all. Even when you compare to, when you're comparing to a Wilson 1000 to the Wilson 500s to the Little Will, reception wise, it doesn't really make a difference. But when you're transmitting, you do have better efficiency when you have a longer antenna. This particular antenna is only 36 inches high, stainless steel. Overall, from the base height, overall height of the entire antenna is about 38 inches off the surface of your vehicle. I chose the magnet mount because I don't want a permanent antenna, because I don't want to go through drilling a hole in my truck. So and it's also nice because it's you could remove it anytime you want. So yeah, I highly recommend this antenna. Just keep in mind that when you're comparing Wilson 1000 to this Little Will here, this Little Will comes with a shorter coax cable length. So when you're installing, just keep that in mind, that you need to keep the radio close by the antenna, or route it so that you don't lose too much cable length. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is locate the back light, or I'm sorry, the brake light, which is located on the back of the cab. There are a couple screws that you want to remove, and it just comes right off. And this is where I choose to route the coax. Alright, so what I have here is rag, soap water, and some car wax. What I plan to do is clean the area where I'm going to mount my magnet on, and I'll actually wax it to prevent any moisture damage. It's recommended that you periodically remove the magnet mount frequently as possible to clean the area underneath the magnet. A lot of people neglect this, and what happens is that if you don't clean it often, it's just going to end up deteriorating. Just make sure when you remove it, have a firm grip on the antenna and towards the top, and what you do is you just give it a little tilt and it'll just come right off, and try to avoid any side to side motion, because that will scratch your finish. So yeah, just clean it periodically, and make sure when you mount your antenna, your antenna back on there on the surface of your vehicle, make sure it's within. It doesn't have to be exactly where it was, but just try to make sure you get as close as possible, because it will throw your SWR off. Just make sure it's within couple inches. Don't set it on there where it's off by more than a couple inches. Just try to put it at the same spot. Alright, so after I clean the surface, I set the antenna on top of my vehicle. As you can see, I set it towards the back because I don't want to mount the antenna towards the middle of the roof, because doing so, I don't want loose wire to be moving around. So it just looks better. But having the antenna mounted right in the middle is actually better because only because it allows more uniform radiation pattern when you're transmitting. But I'm not too concerned about that, so I'm gonna actually mount mine right here. Your job will go much easier if you had fish tape. This is commonly used by electricians when they're feeding a wire through a conduit or something. But if you don't have this, you could also use some stiff wire, or maybe like a long coat hanger or something. So yeah, using this, it helps you feed the coax in some tight spaces. Alright, from this point you want to leave everything the way it is on the outside. Just keep the brake light assembly out. Come inside, take off your dome light. Now the dome light is 4 pieces. You have your clear lens, which is on the most outer part, and then you got that little gray piece that holds all the lamps and whatnot, and then you got that yellow plastic piece that's in the inside, which actually holds the whole light assembly up. And then you have your electrical connector, which comes off very easily. So you want to remove that clear lens from the front. You just use your finger and it just pops off. Then remove the gray assembly and disconnect the wire, and you actually remove that yellow piece there. Also, it comes off very easily. And from the outside you get that fish tape, feed it through, and have somebody in the inside truck, or in this case I did it on my own, which is not that difficult. But once you locate the fish tape from the inside of the truck, what I did was I rigged it to a speaker wire, a really thin speaker wire, or you could use a rope, and went back outside and fished it out. And then I used the speaker wire and I just rigged it up to my coax, and then from the inside of the vehicle I pulled it in. And so from the outside, this is where I come inside, and just once you fish it through, once you fish the coax through, just take out all the slack and just button up everything that's on the outside. So I pulled the rest of my coax, took all the slack off, and from this point, what I'm going to do is repeat the process now from the front corner of my vehicle. In this case, you could actually go towards the passenger side, but I chose to go through the driver's side. So you're repeating this fishing process to feed the coax from your dome light position to the front, towards the front of the vehicle, driver's side in my case. Alright, so when you look at this picture, you can see that I ran the wire towards the bottom of the assembly. It would look much nicer if I went towards the top. All you have to do is just cut out a little notch, but I avoided coming through the top, and I chose to go towards the bottom because mainly because of moisture. A lot of the water accumulates towards the top, never towards the bottom, so I just decided to go feed it through the bottom instead. And doing this way, you don't have to cut out any notches or anything on the assembly. There might be a little gap underneath, right where the coax runs through, but you could always just use a little bit of a bead of sealant, silicone, to seal off moisture. Just using your fingernail, you could just take out these tabs to take off the handle. There's actually 4 of these little bolts, and when you remove these 4 bolts, the whole shield comes off. And it's optional, but just to speed up the process, if you want to use a little impact gun that I have, you could do that, or just use a regular ratchet and socket. Alright, now that the shield is off, the corner is exposed, the next thing you got to do is take out the sun visor, which will help drop down the headliner panel so you could continue feeding the coax cable through. Alright, from this point your coax comes down and it goes towards the right, in this case in the middle of my dashboard. So you could easily hide the coax in between the windshield and the dash. It just, when you push it in with your fingers, it'll actually drop down underneath your dash so you can't even see it. Then you could run your power cables down into that hole where you see on the front corner there. You could drop it down towards your parking brake pedal area, where you'll find 4 blunt cut wires. They're all shrink wrapped, and I believe, yeah, they're all 2 of them are the same sizes, which are for the 30 amp, and then you'll find these 2 other ones that are small. One is for a 20 amp circuit, one is for a 15. They're basically fed from the relay, and they run through those. You control those relays through the auxiliary switches that you have in front of you, right below the air conditioning control unit. So yeah, I chose switch number 1, which is a 30 amp circuit, which is the yellow wire underneath you could find. So the just in case you blow out a fuse, the auxiliary switch number 1 and 2, which are both 30 amps, are located in the engine compartment, and you'll find auxiliary switches 3 and 4 are the 20 amp and 15 amp breakers are located on the bottom right hand side. The passenger side, you'll find them inside the fuse panel, and you actually need the owner's manual to see where they're located, because they're not printed on the cover itself. I also purchased a gear keeper for my microphone, in preventing to drill any holes. I don't like drilling holes in the truck, so using that middle console there, just hook it on and let my mic hang from there. Alright, so I chose this location for my radio and my amplifier. What's really nice about the Cobra 29 LTD is that a lot of these radios come with calibrators and SWR meter. It's an analog meter, so it's continuous. It's very accurate. I don't recommend you going out and buying a separate SWR meter. It's built in, so just use it. I mean, it's really good. It's really accurate. I have had no problems with it. And the linear amplifier that I have, made by Polymorph, it actually says 100. I'm sorry, it actually said 250 watts on the box itself, but when I had it measured out, it was only putting out 140 watts on the maximum range. But it still puts out a lot. It generates a lot of heat if you talk a lot on it, and it has a preamp switch to it, which also amplifies incoming signals. I'm not going to get into how to do the SWR because there's plenty of resources out there how to do it, and it is important that when you're hooking up an amplifier, make sure that you have your antenna calibrated before you hook it in. Otherwise, if the standing ratio is too big, it could cause some feedback and have all kinds of damages to your linear amplifier. And it's also important that you have your antenna tuned before you actually hook up the amplifier. I wish you luck. If you have any questions, please contact me and leave any comments if you wish. Thank you.